Good morning. Hello, everybody. Doesn't matter where you're coming in from. Welcome to this week's SNL, Sales and Negotiation Live. This is not something that you might see, you've seen in the past. I'm kicking off a weekly session called SNL just to help you in your business become better with sales and negotiation skills. So this live session will happen once a week. These sessions aim to be between anywhere from 10 to maybe short 10 minutes to probably 20, 25 minutes. And the aim is to help you in your roles to apply sales and negotiation skills in a humanized way. These skills are so important in our everyday roles. And today's topic we're going to be talking about and spending some time on is around asking questions and why questions can actually be your superpower in exactly the way that you need them to serve you in whatever your professional roles are. What you'll find as well that when we're selling and negotiating is that questions actually really underpin the way the conversation works and how we can actually engage with people. I have lots of people that talk to me and ask, well, if no one is engaging with us or they're giving me nothing, Julia, what do I do? And this generally always comes back to we're probably asking the wrong types of questions. So today's session is designed for you to turn up live, watch the replay either way, ask questions. I've got someone monitoring the questions, the comments section for us as well, so that I can answer anything that comes up as we go. And I want to strap in and give you some good content today so that you can finish today's SNL and you can actually take this content and apply it as soon as you finish this session with us or with me today. The topic of asking questions is so crucial. Whenever we run our program and we teach this to clients, it's called the Infinite Sales System. The Infinite Sales System is designed to actually help clients or help companies convert more opportunities, get in front of more qualified opportunities, and also play the long game in a more efficient way so that they convert faster. But what actually underpins everything that we teach in this program is asking questions. The research actually shares with us that the most underrated and the most technically difficult part of a sales conversation or a sales process is what people call the discovery, which is essentially around asking questions. Most people in sales roles feel like, and I've watched thousands of these interactions over the decades, but a lot of people in these roles underestimate the time that they're spending asking questions, and they're asking the wrong kinds of questions with the wrong intention behind it and for the wrong amount of time. What I would like to do today is tie all of that up for you and give you some clarity on what kind of questions should we be asking, when should we be asking these kinds of questions, and essentially how long should we be spending doing this. To kick this off, though, I will share that there is a couple of different types of questions, right? So most people are familiar with open and closed. Open and closed questions, let me click the buttons here to get some slides up so I can share these with you. So there are actually 4 types of questions I would like to share with you. 2 we already know about. The 2 types of questions we know about that we talk about all the time are essentially open and closed questions. Open and closed questions are the foundation of asking good questions. So closed questions are anything that starts with those words that you can see below on that second part of that page. So any question that starts with an is, are, can, do, does, have, has, had, could, should, or would, those questions are going to give us generally a yes or no answer. Open questions, on the other hand, these are the ones we want to ask more frequently, and these are harder to think about. They certainly take more time to come up and produce because they should be more thought-provoking questions. So these are more questions with those words there: who, what, when, where, why, how. My favorite is tell me. We can throw tell me in front of a whole range of sentences, and it just invites someone to be more collaborative in the conversation. But here's the part that's really interesting. There are 2 more types of questions I want to introduce to you, and these are called tactical and transactional questions. What we find is that when professionals in their sales conversations are asking questions, they tend to ask more transactional questions. Transactional questions you can think of those as data collecting questions. You can think of these questions as fact-finding questions. It's information we need to ask that allows us essentially to put a proposal or a quote together. So there may be questions like, what do you need? How many do you want? Or how many hours are you after? Or how long do you want this service to go for? Who would you like to deliver it? Tell me about your locations. Do you want a red one or an orange one? So these are more transactional in their nature. Most professionals leverage these questions very, very early up in the conversation. But what we actually find is that these questions actually give the impression that you're trying to take something from someone. So we don't want to use a lot of these transactional questions, especially in the beginning of your conversation. We want to make sure that these questions are the transactional questions that are pushed actually to the further or the later part of your sales conversation. Because in the first part of your conversation, we want to make sure that we are using tactical or strategic. You can interchange those two words. So we want to be asking tactical questions. Tactical questions are more strategic. They're more high level, and they're actually more focused on partnership, challenge solving, digging into the details, the why. Whereas those transactional questions are more about the stuff and the things. The stuff and the things we want to ask about later on, right? We don't want to lead with that stuff. We want to lead with these really, really strategic tactical questions. Tactical questions are questions that allow us to show that we care, to find out what's important. Now, not only are these questions going to start with what you can see on the board there, those who, what, when, where, why, how, and tell me style, but we'll also find out that in these questions, they are far more thought-provoking. As an example, if you've ever interacted with a child over the age of, 5 or 6 years old, and you ask them, how was school today? Now, that is an open question by definition. What are they going to tell you? Feel free to throw it in the comments, but they're going to say, good. Yeah, good. And if you say, and you ask them another open question that might be, what did you learn or what did you do today? Most kids are going to reply with nothing. So this is an example where open questions, even though they're open by definition, they don't serve us very well. Similarly, yet stuff and the things are boring. Thank you. Exactly. So thanks for some of those comments coming through now. The other part as well is that we can relate this to as grown-ups is you think about a Monday morning in the office. What's the question we all ask our colleagues on a Monday morning? How was your weekend? What do they say? Good, thanks. And then they go, how was yours? Oh, yeah, pretty good, thanks. So this tells us nothing, even though by definition, you can see that these are open questions. They're not insightful. They're not giving us anything. They feel like box checking or just box checking questions. They don't allow us to really deeply connect, and they're not insightful in any way, shape, or form. So in our sales and negotiation conversations, what we want to be doing is asking open questions, but we want to make them strategic and tactical. When we're doing this, now this is probably going to frighten a lot of you off, but when we're actually asking these tactical, strategic questions, I want you to do this for a solid 20 to 30 minutes. And you might think, well, that's impossible, Julia. How do I do that? It's actually not impossible. So in my sales conversations with a new prospect go for an hour, and half an hour of that, sometimes actually more, probably actually 30 to 40 minutes of that is just me asking questions. Now, I've just refined it so well over the years that I know what questions to ask that get me lots and lots of information. And I know I can ask 9 questions, and that can fill in between 30 and 40 minutes. And I'm just taking notes all the time when I'm asking these questions of my prospects. So these tactical and strategic questions are more about partnership, challenge solving, digging into details. We need to also make sure that these questions are designed to show someone that we're listening and we are here to learn about what's important to them, which is another reason you just can't spend 2 minutes or 5 minutes banging out some quick and fast questions. If your questions are designed for you to learn about what's important to somebody, you cannot learn that in 5 or 10 minutes. If we spend a good amount of time, so that solid 20 to 30 minutes, sitting in that zone of asking these tactical, strategic questions, you'll see people ease into that. They will get the feeling that you genuinely care about finding out what's important to them. Once they learn that and they can feel that, they are more open to sharing with you what is important to you. And they will say things they maybe, or talk about challenges they've maybe not aired before. So this gives you a really great opportunity to show that you do care. It also gives you huge amounts of competitive advantage, because when we ask questions the right way, your prospect should think or feel, or even if you're having just a negotiation conversation with somebody, the person that you're speaking to, if you're asking the right types of questions and they're open-ended and they're tactical, that person should think or feel, if not say to you, oh my gosh, these questions are so insightful. No one's ever asked us these types of questions before, or I've never had to think about these things before. And that gives you a great clue that you're on the right track to asking questions that make people feel like you are different from all your competitors. So what are some of these questions, right? What are some of these questions? So when we're asking these tactical questions that we're going to sit in that zone for about 20 or 30 minutes, these are questions around partnership. So you might ask questions around, what does a successful partnership look like for you here? Tell me what challenges you're experiencing now in relation to whatever your services are. How do you know, like, what are the visual signs that you have in your business that you know you have a problem with this area? You could be asking, so I get asked questions, can we ask about budget? Sure, you can ask about budget, but instead of saying, what's your budget? That's a lame question. Instead of asking, what's your budget? Here are some other questions we can ask around that are far more insightful. You could ask things like, tell me how you come up with the investment you're looking to spend on this. Tell me all the things that you value aside from a competitive price when you're looking at a partner for this project. What could be the impact if you made a decision purely based on the lowest price? Can you tell me about your level of openness to investing more on this project if you found that you had a more experienced partner? So those types of questions are far more strategic than saying, what's your budget? And also, as we know, with the what's your budget question, people hold that close to their hearts. Some of them aren't willing to give that up. And then it becomes a game of haggling rather than a proper negotiation conversation. So those are some tactical questions you could ask around, essentially around the financials or the commercials for your project. Other questions you could ask that are tactical and then are strategic could be around the challenge. How do you know you've got a challenge? What do your team experience? What is this challenge getting in the way of your business achieving? You could be asking questions around what is the difference between a good and a great solution for you here? How do you know you've actually found the right partner? What signs are you looking for that will know that you've selected the right person? You could ask some really bold questions. If we were to work together, what's something I would do that would see me lose your contract or lose your trust? That's a bold question to ask. Similarly, you could also ask the opposite. If we were to work together, how could I ensure that we're working together forever and that we never stop working together? What would that look like? These questions are far more interesting and insightful than just sitting in that zone of asking those transactional questions. What do you need? How much do you want to spend? When do you want to get it delivered, or when do you want to start? How many days work do you want? How many people do you want? What kind of resourcing are you after? Those transactional questions belong far later in your sales conversation, because if you spend that good time at the beginning asking those tactical questions that are open-ended, what you'll find is that your person that you're speaking to will relax a lot more. They will feel like you genuinely care, which you do. And when you can have someone feel like you genuinely care, they're more willing to share with you. So when you get to those transactional questions down the line, if you've put a good foundation down earlier through your tactical questions and those strategic questions, you should feel like that person will tell you anything. So those questions that you need to ask, essentially to put your proposal together, those questions will actually serve you far better once you put a great foundation down at the beginning of your conversation and ask those tactical questions. When we talk about another part, and this is the last part I'll go into today, but the last part that I'll cover around asking questions today, these sessions, as I said, are designed to be short and sharp for you, is around qualifying. Qualifying questions are designed to actually be asked of somebody before you meet with them. And the purpose of a qualifying question is simply to decide if you want to take the time out of your schedule and theirs to actually have a conversation. So it's essentially the way, using Monopoly analogies, your qualification questions are designed to work out, am I going to pass, go and collect $200 and book this person in for a proper conversation? So your qualification questions aren't about you learning everything about the project. They're asking around about, 5 to 7 just high level questions. And some of them might be transactional in nature, which is okay. But we're trying to work out, is this someone who I would want to have a conversation with? Is this someone who I feel like could be a good opportunity for us? So your qualification questions are asked before you've met with somebody. And ideally, now I know for those who follow me, I'm a massive advocate of picking up the phone. However, this is the caveat, or this is the exception to that rule. Your qualification questions, ideally, we send them over email, or they could be a survey that you send someone to. I have a Microsoft Forms link that I send people to. And I ask about, I think it's about 6 questions that I have. And I'm just trying to learn, is this somebody who has a challenge I can actually really help them with? And is this the type of business that my company works to serve? And we want to do that over email, because the difficulty is if we end up asking those questions over the phone, what we don't want to do is be in a situation where we're starting to get hammered now on the phone. Well, what do you do? How do you help? How much are your services? Gosh, can we talk? That's really expensive. Oh, we'd never spent that before. Or gosh, I can get that really much cheaper somewhere else. So we want to avoid that conversation. We're not into that part yet. Remember, that's the transactional part that comes later when you're in your sales conversation. So our qualification questions belong at the beginning of our process before you've agreed to meet with somebody, and they are to determine if you will in fact meet with somebody. If you do want to meet with them, then you'll book them in for a sales conversation where you'll spend that 20 to 30 minutes asking those tactical, strategic questions. But your qualification questions are simply designed to be between 5 and 7 short and sharp questions for you to work out, is this someone who I think we could help, and are they in our target market? Ideally, we do that over email because we don't want to invest any time yet before someone is qualified. So our qualification questions belong at the beginning. Then we ask those strategic questions, those really detailed tactical questions when we get into our sales conversation. So everybody, that is our SNL session for today. If you've got questions on this topic, you are welcome to pop them in the comments, and I will I'm also doing the school holiday juggle today. So I took a massive gamble doing this session because I've bribed my kids downstairs with they do not interrupt me with this. So I will have to dash shortly and come back to some of the comments later. But thank you for joining me today. If this information is helpful, here's a few ways you can continue to learn these skills and techniques. So this full process that we teach is called the Infinite Sales System. It's designed to help you in your roles to take a trust-first approach with selling and negotiating. If you want to learn more about these comments, best thing you can do is follow me on LinkedIn. It's the most live you'll see me. So I share content roughly every 2 days from the Infinite Sales System to help everybody become better at sales and negotiating. Most people are a bit crap at this topic, so I want to help everyone to get better. So that's one way you can continue to learn. Follow me on LinkedIn. Second way you can learn is join and get some regular tips straight to your inbox. I like to think my newsletter goes out every 2 to 3 weeks, but it's probably every 3 to 5 weeks. So if you don't want to get bombed in your inbox, then my newsletter is probably right for you. It's short and sharp, and again, it gives you a deep dive in some of these topics. The other way you can learn from these more on this subject is to take one of my 2 LinkedIn learning courses. My first LinkedIn learning course is about sales skills for non-sales professionals. And my second one is around basically how to ask powerful sales questions. No one wants to ask lame questions. We want to ask powerful sales questions. And the last way you can learn, or second last way you can learn, is you can purchase this book from Pitch to Profit, available wherever you get your books from. And this is the full Infinite Sales System. It's really palatable. You can knock this over in a few hours. And the last way you can learn is you can engage in our full program. But the aim of these sessions, we want anyone to join these sessions that finds this topic interesting, so we can help you improve how you sell and negotiate in your everyday life. Thanks for joining us today. I'll see you next week.